This is Fit FM 96.7. Duncan Strolone.
Number one means you're always on top. Your number one radio.
Fit FM 96.7.
Small and medium-sized business owners, promote your business on Fit FM Business Ballout. Call our sales office today at 876-377-3442 or 876-317-1991. Don't be left out. Promote your business on Fit FM Business Ballout.
Saturdays at 4 p.m. Join Fit FM 96.7 FitFMJ8.com for a simulcast of Primal Sports, an interactive sports program produced by Primal activists. So tune in to a simulcast of Primal Sports on Fit FM 96.7, FitFMJ8.com, and Primal4K.com.
For 2 days, the 5 o'clock hour is hot on Fit FM 96.7, www.fitfmja.com. Your life, your music with Lady D, Denise Gomez, Inside the Zone. Catch me on Monday at 5 p.m. for the Monday Drive, keeping you in the know in the city you walk, drive, and reside. And on Friday, yes, at 5 p.m. for Center Stage, the platform where voices are heard and people connect. From abroad to yard, Trelawney, me love on you.
Blessings and light. This is Aymara, the musical revolutionary. Your host and the community buzz on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. This and every Monday at 3 p.m. From the home to the community to the wider world. Let us be the change we want to see. Join me this and every Monday at 3 p.m. on the community buzz on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
This is Fit FM
Fit FM 96.7.
96.7.
Duncan Strolone.
Duncan Strolone.
We are the builders of the pyramids. We are the builders of the stone cities of Zimbabwe. We build them White House. We build them factories. With blood, with sweat, with tears. With flesh, with bones. Them use build them economy. Now them want come con you and me. With them science and them technology. We make them take with knowledge. Now them are deafly. Them are blindly. We are walk, we are ride, we are drive, we are fly. Nah look, nah see. Eyes focus on the screen of an iPhone, Galaxy, tablet, Blackberry. Wake up, look. Uno no sister them are buried with. Ancestors crying out. Them are weak, you see we heading back to slavery. Robotic, digital, technological slavery. The rich take them session, call it recession, left the world in depression. Legal and illegal drugs and alcohol on the rise, in their interests. To our demise we patronize, now become marginalized, make fools seem wise, because we abide them lies and sell with lies, prostituting our sons, daughters and wives.
Blessings and light, blessings and light. This is Aymara, the musical revolutionary, and this is the community buzz on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. And we are on the World Wide Web, www.fitfmja.com. We are also simulcasting on primal4k.com, www.primal4k.com. Yes. Good afternoon, family. Good afternoon, friends all over the world. We bless you up. I mean, it is a beautiful Monday, afternoon. I mean, Monday, the 13th day of November. And we are heading down to December. See, we give thanks for life. We give thanks for every moment because the only moment we have is the moment that is. And this is this moment. So we salute all the people out there who are above the earth at this moment, right? And we salute the ancestors who gone before, those who are below and those who are also above, because as above, so below. Seeing, so we give thanks, just like head and toe. Life is life, We are the infinite beauty of life, traversing the inner verse, the outer verse, and the universe. So how you do? The people in the market, the people in the streets, and the people out there give trouble on the streets, on the road, the mad drivers, them. So many fatal accidents, happening, in our streets today, especially I want to go out to Braco. Yeah? Like say we have to get some spiritual growth to go deal with them ghosts there, because almost some ghosts take over out there. Too much thing I go on the Braco main road, man. Every week, 2 or 3 accidents. You know what I mean? On the Braco main road. Something right out there. Maybe we need to go talk to the Tainos them. Maybe somebody disturb them peace out there. See, but it is what it is. One true, because the spiritual realms is a serious realm. Enough people believe it's a joke thing, but if they are unsettled, they will create problems. So maybe they need to be settled. You know what I mean? So we don't know if when they are sent them, should have beat some come in a drum and carry some Roman thing and go, intercede and talk with them and say, all right, cool down, tell you the problem we are going, no more bloodshed. See, but otherwise, the people them use their head too, the kind of mad driving and everybody want to be ahead of the vehicle before, see. So, I don't know how that work because there will always be a vehicle before you. So, I don't know you're going to drive past every one of them. You know what I mean? And no matter how slow you drive, there will always be one behind or 2 or 3. See? So understand that, that you don't need for rush life, man. You know what I mean? If you have somewhere to go, just get up and come out on time. You know what I mean? That you don't have to have this mad rush, and want to reach what would take you a hour you want to reach in 15 minutes time. It is crazy because it's the road, and sometimes it is kind of congested, and and you alone use it. You know what I mean? It's a mass amount of people using the road. See, so if you out there trying to go too fast, well, the sad thing is not just you alone. Some other people maybe I try if you just get on time, you destroy them life. Because of your selfishness or your self-centeredness. But we are here and we hope to have a beautiful program this evening. We are going to talk beach, we are going to talk what going on Jamaica. There are so many things that we have to look on, We see some things that go on, we see the Prime Minister tell the people, them say, watch out. We are begging, keep we on because, we're not going sorry if we not turn back over, so. Well, I don't know. People, it is up to you. It's up to the voters. It's up to the people who will make the final decision, As you see, you could have preached like Paul, is the people going to make the call. See? So, let's see. Because Jamaica, Jamaica ever see. You know what I mean? So it is yet for the people to dispute or to know if it is so. So everything work out with the people. You know what I mean? If it is really people power, if we really have a democratic system where is one vote and that is count, or it is not that democratic as we are propagating it to be. But we give thanks. People, we want interactive vibes, especially those who are having challenges, accessing the beach. See, we want an interactive vibes today. So may I invite the item to call on 876-478-9144, 876-513-6668. Call, see, because we're going to talk to Dr. Dan Levan Taylor, see, the president for the Jamaica Beach Birthright Movement, Birthright Environmental Movement, right? We are going to talk to him, But before we go to him, I want to look on some things that I say so. See, there's a thing that they call named the Beach Control Act. See, and may I tell you, it have about 56 section, just that act alone, plus subsections, and when something 56 section, subsection 2, 3, 4, 5, and then see, but there's some interesting thing here, especially section 3, and we have to pay attention to that, but section 3, more on the people understand it. Subject to the provision of this section, all rights in and over the foreshore of this island and the floor of the sea are hereby declared to be vested in the crown. Want to understand that? When it says vested in the crown, it means it is absolutely owned by the crown. The word vested, go and look it up, right? It is absolute. See? All rights in and over the foreshore of this island, see, are the floor of the sea derived from or acquired under by virtue of the registration of Titles Act. Let me kind of bring down this one thing. Of Title Act, or any express grant or license from the Crown subsitting immediately before the commence of this act are hereby expressly preserved. 3. Except provided in section 7, we have to go down to section 7, this is where it says, nothing in this act contained shall be deemed to affect any rights enjoyed by a fisherman engaged in fishing as a trade where such rights existed immediately before the 1st of June 1956 in and or over any beach or adjoining land, or B, the enjoyment by such fishermen of the use of any part of the foreshore adjoining any beach or land in or over which any rights have been enjoyed by them up to the 1st of June 1956. See? So this is the Beach Control Act from 1956. We have got bunks piece of music. I hope Dr. Taylor listening, and when him coming in can educate us more about this and tell us why he's taking up this kind of challenge, knowing that we're upon crown land and the crown rule around here. So we don't know, birthright. Make a play a piece of music and come forward. People crying.
People crying, more complaining, working hard, can't fill their basic needs on their knees to the Lord they bow and plead. People crying, more complaining, blood, sweat, and tears, all through these many years. Preachers preach, politician never really cares. People crying, more complaining, get get up from your knees. Go for what is yours. Even if it means you gotta tear down the door. Forward, yeah. Tear down the goddamn door. Well, working hard can't fill their basic needs on their knees to the Lord they bow.
Yes. That's your truly. You know, people crying. I'm Ara saying people crying, produced by Crystal Record. Yes, and it is available on 16bars.com, www.16barsproduction.com. Saying if you want to get that song, you can go there and get it. But where I said the video auto, you know what I mean? You can subscribe and you can, subscribe to the 16bar .com as well, and you can find the video there. You can find it all over YouTube. Let's go there and subscribe. See, go on for read this again before we welcome Dr. Devon Taylor. See, subject to the provision of this section, all rights in and over the foreshore of this island and the floor of the sea are hereby declared to be vested in the crown. Now, we'll go to the Black Laws Dictionary to see what the word vested means. Having become completely consummated right for present or future enjoyment, not contingent and conditional, absolute, a vested interest in the estate. See? So, you get that. Welcome, Dr. Devon Taylor, President for JABEM. How you doing, sir?
Not too bad, Give thanks for having me on. Greetings to all your listeners, them. Looking forward to a really good conversation in the day,
Yes. And we're happy to have you here, sir. You heard, I was doing some research on the 1956 Beach Control Act. I don't know if there's any amendment to that act, you know what I mean? Because we are looking on it right as it is. I haven't seen anything to show that there's any great amendment to it, And the last time I heard you say this is still the Colonial Act that is ruling, that is governing the beach, beaches in Jamaica. Now, when you heard Section 3, what is your views on that? Or we are going to go around that?
Yeah, legislatively, getting around, this is a legislation that was passed in 1956, right, by colonial England, all right? Mm-hmm. So laws can be changed.
Yes.
And laws should be changed to reflect the values and, the demands and the security of our people. And, we are in a post-colonial era, even though neocolonialism is really rife in our society, and we did not get rid of all the different pieces of colonial laws that sits on our book, and this is one of them. But the way to really move away from this is for the legislative, part of our government, meaning our parliament and senate, need to really repeal and replace this law. And we know that these things only happen if the public demand it. So the public need a certain amount of education around the injustice of a legislation, okay? And then demand that it be removed. And, that is what JABEM has been doing. We've been advocating on the educational level to the country that you are actually living a reality where you can't really freely access your beaches and your river. And the reason why you can't do this is because laws are on the books that are preventing you. And whether people believe it or not, it is the truth. And you just read out a part of the law there a while ago. So anybody can take up them smartphone right now, because everybody have them. Everybody have them tablet, them have them internet, them have them computer, them anything. Just pick it up and just type in the Beach Control Act of 1956, looking at it for section 3, part 4, and you will see where it says that you have no right in and over the foreshore of the island. All right, and all of this is vested in the Crown, which is the Crown Estate of England. So get no clearer than that, my brother. Okay, that Jamaicans just does not fundamentally have the right to access their beaches and river, and it is written in the law. There's no other way to sugarcoat this, my brother. It is them write the thing down. And so we can change it, and that is what we're interested in, because you can't live in our country where you don't have rights.
Let me read that. Let me read on 3 part 4 that the people can understand. You just mentioned rights in and over the foreshore of this island or the floor of the sea, save such as are derived from or acquired to preserve under or by virtue of this act. If you don't understand again, let me go. No person shall be deemed to have any rights in or over the foreshore of this island or the floor of the sea, save such as are derived from or required or preserved under or by virtue of this act. Now, people, if you don't understand that, and if you go back to and just study the Treaty of Madrid, and realize that the Crown still control this island, and now them sure say even the floor of the ocean they are in control of, and the foreshore. So the foreshore mean that the island and the people were upon it. So they may recognize us still, because that is 1956, and a long time that them still not recognize us, saying as people, because the property that are the properties that we are on here called Jamaica. Let me go back now. The property that we are on called Jamaica is still owned by the Crown and the government. You just talk about the legislature and the Senate and the 3 arms of government are supposed to deal with all of this. See? But we have to look on the reality. The 3 arms of government, the 3 arms of government is still the Crown's government. How we are going to deal with that? Because people afraid to talk about revolution. And when we say revolution, it not have to be bloody. But we need a revolution for this fundamental change to take place. So how we are going to deal with Dr. Devon Taylor? Excuse me, sir.
Yeah, man. I'd like to expand before take on that ways around this thing. So the section 3 that you just reread, if we translate that to the ones them so them can simply understand it about rights in or over the foreshore. Yeah. Right. There was an article that was written in the Jamaica Gleaner by Peter Knight, and Peter Knight is the CEO of NEPA. NEPA is the National Environmental Planning Agency. And basically what he explained in that article, to which Dr. Carlin Cooper, who is a staunch advocate of beach access right for many years and have written extensively on this issue in the Jamaica Gleaner. We also have Peter Figaro have written on those things. Diana McCall has written those things, and Dr. Mazike Them has also written on these things in the paper. So it's not short of our academics, and our advocates have written about our exclusion from beaches and exclusion from river, and those have been positioned themselves as very racist against the Jamaican people. And I want the Jamaican people to understand fundamentally that this law can be characterized as a racist law. It is what we term as anti-black racism. Is racist towards the Jamaican people, who are 96%, descendants of enslaved African. And it was written in 56, so it was targeted against us, our people. And those luminaries that I just spoke about have written extensively about those, and they've written about the impact that it have on Jamaican. Because if you explain the law, what the law is basically saying that you have no right to fish, you don't have a right to swim, you don't have no right to bathe in the sea, you don't have no right to walk along the foreshore. And the only way those rights comes about is if you acquire them through customs, meaning that you've been doing them for a minimum of 20 years, and you have to go to court to prove that. So there's an addendum, called the Prescriptive Act of 1882. We'll talk about that allows you to go into the courts and fight for your right. And we are doing that right now, and it is kind of burdensome to do so. But the act is racist, my brothers and sisters. And the act is racist against Black people. So it's a racist piece of legislation. We need to remove it. So, when you talk about, how we get around this, and you speak about the three branches of the government, we are talking about the judiciary, meaning the courts, what judge them, all right? And we're talking about Parliament, all right, and we're talking about the Senate, and all of these three pieces that comprises our government needs to be engaged in terms of how we overturn, a racist piece of legislation, and replace it with something that, really represent the ideals that Jamaicans are now, embodied. We're embodied in a post-colonial ideals. We're embodied in freedoms and rights. Our heroes, them fight for the thing and them give it independence. So mean that independence must mean something. And independence means the right to access our beaches and our right to walk over land to get to our beaches. And our legislators need to make that happen. And it's not happening. So, there has been no serious amendment to the Beach Control Act of 1956 that gives us rights. And so, it has to be taken up in the Parliament, all right? And the Prime Minister himself must be see that it is necessary to do so. He's supposed to safeguard the nation, and how you safeguard the nation is not just, state of emergency or zones, ZOSOs, or more police and soldier upon the road. Those are knee-jerk reaction and come on in times when you have to move in an emergency way. You secure a nation by making sure the laws are just in the country, that equity and equality is the rule of the land. And when you do so, then people feel valued in their country, and then people feel valued when equity reigns, and we can peacefully exist among each other. But when them set the system up where if you're gonna get some food, your brother gotta be your enemy, it drives all kind of discomfort, and it drives outcomes that we're living right now. Because if you look along the North Coast corridor, you see a whole heap of ghetto a pop-up, and these ghettos are popping up right across from what them call development, them tourism enterprise. Them create all of these corridors of what do they call them? Special corridors. I'm blanking on the name that they use in COVID, and all they're doing is just suppressing communities. Resilience corridors, they call them. They're heavily police corridors. So we have become a police state that is further, the colonial agenda of keeping the Black man in check. So our war here, our war is against colonialism. And what we ask the Jamaican people is to come with Jabem, as Jabem called for the removal of colonial and racist laws in our country, and ask our legislators to make the change. And you got to do that at the ballot. So fundamentally, you have to vote, on issues that impact your lives. And this over there right now is a policy change that this is going to take. There are strategies that we are employing right now, you know what I mean, that is forcing the system. And that's why we engage the judiciary by taking different entity into the courts to validate that we have a right there, because we are not a violent organization where, as you talk about the revolution earlier, all right, it's a revolution that we are in. But the revolution takes us to engage the court, to engage the parliament, to engage the Senate, and to engage the leadership of Jamaica, you know what I mean, over like the private sector, you know, in a constructive way, through reasoning, through arguments, through showing them what is broken in the system. And then in so doing, they should realize, you know, that this piece of legislation is creating harm to the Jamaican people, and harm does not lead anywhere good. So it's basically this over there right now that we're asking the society to come on board in this fight against a racist law. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Slavery has been abolished in Jamaica, but the vestiges that came into being that kept us enslaved for more than 400 years are still alive in the land. And we should not fool ourselves. You know, just ask yourself the question. Whether you're living at the inner city, Kingston, you live along the North Coast Corridor, can you walk on any beach? And the answer is no. Then you ask yourself the question, so somebody own the beach? Why can't I walk on there? Is the beach owned by who? The hotel them own the beach? And me can't go there, or them are going to create a little one beach or a two beach over there, and I'm going to so me can't go in a my land. You live in a country where places, it's not like a man yard, you know. It's a common space that you can't go. And that's how we reach. So you can't go beach because a man hotel did there, and the hotel is primarily being used by Caucasian, and you can't go there. I mean, them things they just don't work. The island is 494 miles around the island. All right? That's 494 miles of waterfront coastline we have. 150 miles of that is basically sandy. You know, most of it is rocky. You know, rocky, but it's still nice. Of the 494 miles, Jamaicans only have access to 2.8 miles of that 494 miles. If you calculate that, I think that's about 0.05%. I want it to sink in. I want it to sink into the Jamaican people that after 400 mile, 90 miles, of 500 mile of coastline, technically we only have like 2.8 mile of access to it. And that's not my word. That's government data that came out in 2000. And at 23 years now since that information has been published, and there's more hotel that has been built over the last 23 years. So therefore we have less access. We think we only probably have like a 1 mile of access across the island. So no matter how much you see, the other day Al Jazeera did a documentary piece, and you know there was a lot of buzz out here in the social media space. And one can check it out, you know what I mean? You know, check out Al Jazeera Plus and look at that documentary. And, you know, there were people saying that, well, Jamaica have like 56 public beaches or 70-something public beaches. Those beaches do not add up to no more than like a mile of access out of 494 miles. So it's very deceiving, and it's also intellectually dishonest. And there's a pattern I've noticed in Jamaica. There's a pattern about, and I will be very blunt about this, because it's not that I don't care, but my ancestors have taught me to lose the fear. And I've lost the fear. So I can say this, that the current government and many of the intellectuals or private sector that supports the trajectory in which this government is going are very intellectually dishonest. They all know that Jamaica was a slave plantation. They all know chattel slavery, the history of chattel slavery in Jamaica. they all know the violence that was, made against black bodies. And I mean, a lot of it, was very brutal, both to black women and black men. Many of this violence started in the womb, on the bodies of our mothers and our sisters, and our wives. Okay. And it continued to date. They know that those violence against us did not go away. They get entrenched in different laws and legislation to keep us in check. Our police forces were developed to keep us in check. Many of the legislation around the right to own land kept us in check. And so those vestiges of colonialism never went away. And we're living in them today. And many of them have worked their way into the economic machinery of the country. And the Beach Control Act of 1956 is one such legislation. It has worked its way into the machinery of the economics of the country that says that all of these coastal spaces that are of high value must be controlled by a certain class of people. Okay, and those class of people exclude Jamaican historically, and I lived that experience. And my brother, I'll tell you, because I'm not speaking from second, on information here. I'm speaking from experiencing this firsthand. Okay, I mean, I am what you'd call an educated individual. Whatever they told me to do from I was in kindergarten school, I did it. All right? I did it all.
Yes.
I followed all the rules and be a good student and went to high school and went to college and went to the University of the West Indies, got my degree, went on to study further at graduate level, earn my PhD and go out in the world and work. And then you have all this education. You have contributed to your community, to your family. To all the spaces that they ask you. You volunteered in your hospital system, and you done all you could in COVID at any level that they ask you. You gave stuff. You have done it all, and yet still, one thing that I can't. My childhood beach that I grew up on. I cannot walk on that childhood beach anymore. I'm locked out of it. And that is the experience that I lived. And I've lived that. It's very painful.
Yes, as it is painful. It is painful because as you're talking now about the education that you acquired, right? And to be struggling after achieving so much, that is something that we all must pay attention to, because I believe education should be a tool for your liberation. And if you have achieved so much education and yet feel like you're a victim and still see yourselves see yourself and others who have gone through all of that, remain in the same situation. Because when you look at, I'm going to just go to section 5, 2. Any person who contravenes the provisions of the subsection 1 shall be liable on summary conviction before a resident magistrate to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 12 months, or to be fined for each day during which the contravention continues, not exceeding $20. So you can see how long for each such days, and in default of payment of any such fine, to imprisonment with or without hard labor for a term not exceeding 3 months, or to both such imprisonment and fine. So what I show you in Jamaica, that these laws are there, that the police, if them study it, is maybe not for them not really know the law that much. Why not for we who really go out and, let me say it, violate these laws and still not find myself in trouble, because these are laws that are there, saying that it assures you if you contravene these laws, you can be fined. You understand? So when we look on these things, and we have to face the reality that you just expressed again, you know, of the people who are the intellectuals here who supposed to be standing up and protecting the people, it seems that they are taking side with their colonial masters to further keep the people in poverty, in servitude, while not realizing that they too are in servitude. Dr. Devon Taylor, when we look on all that you have said a while ago, and knowing that a lot of what we are talking now, the vast majority of the people of Jamaica are totally ignorant to all of these acts, and how we are going to deal with it, how we are going to get them to understand the situation that we are in.
Yeah, so we need all segment of Jamaica to participate in this transformation, basically. You know, it called for a lot of soul searching, but you know, Jabem speaks to the entire society. And you know, I talk about you know the ruling class, all right, and the ones them who would know what is in these legislation and are being intellectually dishonest by saying that we have access to beaches. And there's 56 beaches in Jamaica or 70 beaches in Jamaica. And they're not really looking at it from the perspective that, well, you know, you have 56 beaches down there. But one, you access those beaches by permission. All right. And those permission can be removed and they no longer have access. All right. So we've seen that. We've seen that, you know, in Mammoth Bay Beach. Access it for, you know, a time immemorial, more than 100 years. And then, you know, no longer have access. They stole the land, they run a wire fence and a wall, and you can't go there anymore. We see it for Little Duns River, all right? Fence drawn, they can't use it anymore, okay? We see the attempt, you know, at Blue Lagoon, all right? The road closed, they route it over private land. Private landman can lock him gate any day. So, I mean, we're seeing it in Bob Marley Beach that we're fighting right now, okay? And it's happened at Cooper's Pen, all right? You know, right out of Cooper's Pen right now, right there in Trelawney, the community of Cooper's Pen have lost access to their beach that they're using for more than 200 years. All right. So, I mean, so if you ask yourself the question, then all comes, you know, before you were born, before your father was born, before your father was born, these spaces were being used by your community and you wake up one morning and you can't use them no more. That is because your access right was based upon a permission, and that permission can be removed. So fundamental, this is part of it's part of the intellectual dishonesty that we don't have a fundamental, general, and unfettered right to access beaches and rivers. Because if you did, then none of this could have happened. There would be easement that would be, you know, protected. And Jabem is calling for, you know, general and unfettered rights of access with constitutional protection, you know, around easement. So that gives you the right to cross over private land to get to the beaches. So may I focus right now in another segment, just still enough, on the ruling class. For sure, say them argument flawed. Them argument flawed because them know the Beach Control Act only gives a permission. It don't give you a right. What we also know is in the same legislation, they give a preference and an entitlement to people who own beachfront property. So like the hotel, them have an entitlement that says if you own the land before the hotel, then you have the right to use the space before the hotel. And here all the government becomes further complicit in the problem. The government now says, okay, we own the foreshore, and the foreshore, if they find the foreshore in this area, is the wet sandy area, is where the wave wash up and then it return. So you have the low mark where the water rushes back to the sea, and you have that water mark, and you have the eye mark when it rushes back into the shore, and it hit that part of the dry sand. And we call that the foreshore. Now, technically, that's not a beach, because a beach is defined as the foreshore and the backshore. So the dry sandy area is also, a beach, right? That's the technical term, scientific term. But what the government has been doing is issuing leases. The government has issued leases through, the National Environmental Planning Agents to over 275 different beaches in Jamaica. So just think about, those are exclusive beaches that lock out you and me, or provide restriction in the form of fees, where they have to pay a fee if you go on hotel, $200 a night, $2,000 a night. Places in Jamaica rent for all $10,000 a night. Well, I talk about US dollar now, what Jamaicans cannot afford. So the barrier there is put in place because this Beach Control Act allows for that kind of exclusion.
But why even if no, this is where we want to shift the education now, my brother. As you mentioned, how expensive and how costly it is for any one of us who would like to, go into any one of these hotels. Why, if we wake up and become knowledgeable enough, why should a people who are being marginalized, who are under apartheid, want to carry the money to support a system that lock you out? Why? How comes? And this is what we are saying about revolution now. Why any Jamaicans who understand this piece of legislation and really are looking into it, seeing, and get yourself wise up and have knowledge of what is happening? Why would you want to go to any of these resorts knowing that you are not respected, you are not welcome, because you have to get paid to go inside? So why?
All right. So we are transition, right? So the argument that we are lay out about the dishonesty of the leadership class of Jamaica, the moneyed class of Jamaica, who is fully aware of this law, and the law work for them, so them don't have no interest in changing it, and them also.
Before you go any further, sir. Before you go, Mr. Taylor, before you go any further, I want you to answer the question here. I'm going to direct it at you. See, knowing all of what is happening in here, sir, would you go into one of those resorts, take your money and go spending at any one of those? Because as a leader, as a president of this movement, would you go buy or go on a weekend in any one of these resorts, knowing the kind of oppression that our people are suffering?
No.
You can go ahead. I would like you to answer that question.
No. We don't do
all
that.
Right.
We do not support resort. And not only do we not support them, we have asked publicly for people not to support them. All right. We have asked also internationally that people who are friends of Jamaica, people who come to Jamaica, do not support resorts, villas, guest houses that exclude Jamaicans. All right. And Jabem and myself, we do not support these resorts because they are fundamentally violating the rights of Jamaicans. We don't do that. All right. So that is a position that we have taken, and we have asked the supporters, who want to champion rights and justice, to also boycott any resort developments, villas, guest houses that really blocks Jamaican from using, an easement corridor to get to the beach. Right. That is something that is discriminatory, and we're not tolerating that. Okay. So that is very clear as a position of Jabem, and that is a philosophy that I share. So
we have a caller online, Dr. Taylor. Dr. Taylor, before you go, we have a caller online. So let accommodate that caller for now, and then we can go into what you plan to talk about. Good afternoon, caller. How are you doing?
Hey, good afternoon.
Good.
I'm Mara. How are you?
Blessings and light. Dr. Devon Taylor, the president for Jabem, is online. Yeah.
Doctor, I must commend you first for taking on this task. But my only issue, you keep talking about Jamaica. Now, Jamaica live in New Jersey, and I am very much interested and vested in it. And so you can get my information from my brother beside you, because I'd love to really be a part of this thing. And I don't know if you recognize my name. I'm Patrick Beckford. I've written several articles on the vexing issue for me. But I want to say something. Several years ago, and this topic is kind of different from what you're talking, but it's an example. Several years ago, as a diaspora leader for the Northeast, I approached a minister of government on a little matter of saying, why don't we appoint Jamaicans in the diaspora as justice of the peace? Because it's a daunting issue to get documents notarized, and you have to do. I mean, think. You know what that person says, and I won't say the party or whatever that person said, but the law is such and such. And I quickly said to them, but who are the lawmakers now? You're still living in that colonialistic mentality. We are the change. We got independence in '62. And I think that most of our politicians today are still in that '62 mentality. They wonder we can't get rid of the Privy Council because they figure everything has to come from Ving. But the second point is that tourism is a driving force for the apartheid indentured servitude in this, which includes the beach, because we're catering for those people who don't look like me and you and Imara and Julia. Even the training of the workers in the hotel industry are trained with that mindset. Remember, doctor, when we usually call a black person coming on vacation, dryland tourists. That is a dryland tourist mentality. We are still, teaching people and them to serve. So basically, I understand. They say I have a lot. We can do this, but you and I have to talk of things. But the only thing is that, as one who travels around, I remember several years ago we went to Grand Cayman, and I was asking someone, "Where's a good beach?" And he showed me a beach, and then there was this Caucasian man at the back of the beach, and he came and he was talking to me. The person who took us there said, "Do you know who was that? Who is that?" I said, "No." He said, "I thought that's his house." He said, "No, he's the Governor General of Grand Cayman, and we were in his yard space enjoying the beach." Went to Grenada several months ago. The government before this government lost every seat in Parliament because you know what they did? They gave a hotel by the name of Silver Sands Hotel the authority to build a wall and cut off the people. And they had to tear it down, and every seat that government lost. So, we need our community engaged, but not only the ones living in Jamaica and living in Trelawney, but all over, because we have a strong diaspora community. And I'm volunteering myself to help you in any way that I can, and to get a community here, to address this vexing issue. We got to get rid of the colonialism and, the new constitutional reform, that needs to be entrenched in it. Thank you, and Brother Amara.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Beckford. Thank you, Patrick Beckford, for your contribution. Dr. Taylor, before you just take a note of what Mr. Beckford said, but we're also smallcasting on primal4k.com, and some messages coming here. Other people are engaging us. Professor Exit, that simply means that the government have no respect for basic rights of the people. Is Girl 77 take away the rights to fish like their grandfathers did to feed their family. Yet corporations are overfishing our seas daily and sometimes polluting them at the same time. Overfishing is messing with the ecosystem of our reefs. The reefs keep our ocean alive, kind of like the central nervous system of the ocean, and the reefs are in decline. That is Girl 77. She said again, why the Caucasian can't go to their own beach? They are stripping the neighborhood of natural waste to detoxify both mentally, physically. Going to the beach is so beneficial for physical and mental health. So much that they are saying. The DJ Gaddafi say, your guest is well informed and passionate, making the right use of his education to advocate for this cause. Gaddafi and Anima, I want to understand, that you don't believe some anti-education, me have to straight, because every time me mention something about education and liberation, take it personal. But that's why I'm asked that. I am not anti-education, but there's an aspect of our education system that is colonizing the minds of our people. And colonial education cannot bring you to what we call fundamental liberation. And that is why we are having the challenges that we are facing today. That is why Dr. Devon Taylor are facing the kind of challenges that he's facing, because he is talking about those colonial-minded education lackeys who don't understand what it means to lead themselves to fundamental liberation. What they are doing is protecting the status quo. And that is why we are saying colonial education cannot lead you to fundamental liberation. You hear the comments then, Dr. Taylor. You can go ahead. I don't have to just blow off that little piece there.
No. But you see the whole thing, about colonial education, and people know, I went through the same system too. But one have to really, take a step back and really center themselves, and then politics must reflect. How themselves. And we are, Pan-Africanists, and that does not mean that we are, racist in any way. It means the job that we have, to finish is the one that was started by our ancestors. And that is the complete decolonization, of our spaces and decolonization of our mind. It is one of the unfinished job of our true liberation. So, that's why we have to really give thanks to the ones them who really, and I can't, call their name enough. It's the Caboose, Mahart Karoo from, RFM, who stand up for them issues a long time ago. It is the Carlin Cooper, it's the Esther Figueroas, it's all of these ones, is the Maziki Thames who write about these issues, all these ones come
Sister Dana Mattis and all these people.
Dana Mattis, a revolutionary Pan-Africanist who stand in the struggle, and many more, who I'm remembering right now, who have shed the colonial education and put a foot forward to saying that change must come. So, so these ones who speak on the issue of, rights, and environmentalism, one of the goals and objective of JABEM is for beach and river ecosystem to be ascribed personhood status, meaning that we do not see these spaces as just spaces to just, degrade, as what the tourism product is doing now. It's really doing degradation of the coastal spaces, ripping out all the natural vegetation, changing the shape of the coastline, which is leading to over exploitation. This is something that colonialism is famous for. It's an over-exploitative, it's an extractive industry that damages the economy, the environment, but it also uses the people, and reduce the people them to servitude. It's no different than the plantation. So we can segue into Patrick's question that talks about that tourism is part of the problem. And it's the kind of tourism that we practice in Jamaica, was an enclave tourism. where the population is excluded from the benefits of the sector, and the population is only seen as workers without any benefits at all. So the environment take a blow, all right, and the population and the people takes a blow in the way how the product interacts with the society. So the benefits of tourism is not realized by the Jamaican people. This is why you have big centers like Montego Bay, and you have a Cornwall Regional Hospital that is in a deplorable state, never benefited from the tourism product. A St. Anne's Bay Hospital, a St. Mary Hospital, a Trelawney Hospital, those infrastructure that have been in those parishes never benefited from the product. And you can't even go outside of that because they're asking that the entire Jamaica participate in this. You don't see hospitals up in Sparlings, in St. Catherine, in Manchester benefit from the tourism product. So the population on a whole is not, because it's only 5 cents of every dollar that is spent in the sector stays in Jamaica. All of it leaks out because it's multinational corporation who is actually coming in and investing in this, and they take the profit and then leave the country. Not only that is multinational ones that are also doing it, but you also have Jamaicans, okay, who are parts of the vestiges of colonial that hangs on in Jamaica. They are the one benefiting from the product, and they have no need for it to change. So the product is apartheid-like. It destroys the environment, it suppresses the people, and then it migrates with the profit. So it don't benefit us. It don't benefit schools, our roads, our hospitals, all right? And it does not even deal with the liberation of our minds, which is part of the unfinished business of complete decolonization. So we have all of those problems that are happening. So the model of tourism needs to really shift. Now we need to shift to something more cultural, something more environmental. Tourism have its place, but tourism should not keep us in a form of neo-colonial kind of an apartheid model. We can't sustain that. That is just not sustainable. Okay, so we have to move away from that model. So Patrick also in towards how do we change that? Fundamentally, if you have governments in power who support this model, you have to just move them up. This is what the rest of the world does. Vote on the issues in your country, because as I mentioned, it's going to take a legislative change. So as much as JABEM is an NGO organization functioning in the country, JABEM cannot change those laws. Those laws have to be changed by the politicians that you elect. You can put the pressure upon them. And this is why we're asking the middle class. I'm going to talk to the middle class here tonight, because I spoke to the intellectual, dishonest upper class. And it includes many of our academic people, many of our business leaders, and many of our politicians who fall in that segment. But there's a middle class in Jamaica that we need to talk to, who really now is trying to get into a kind of a class and forget that part of their responsibility is very deeply entrenched in securing the nation, the health of the nation, the rights of the nation, because them have a little bit more resources, they are more educated, them see things. So they need to really kind of really join in the fight against colonialism, join in the fight to really kind of deal with rights and truths and justice within a nation. And the middle class have a very special role to play in our society. And we are really seeing an erosion in the value system or the ethics of our middle class. Our middle class are not really engaging in the needs of the country, the true needs of the country. And they have to really get engaged in it. So we're going to talk about them. But what Patrick is on to, and in the diaspora, which diaspora contributes so much to Jamaica in many different ways, not just remittances, but the diaspora have also contributed intellectually to our Jamaicans. I mean, I myself, left Jamaica, educated and contributed intellectually into Jamaica, but also, on the ground doing things in Jamaica, live in Jamaica, own property in Jamaica, you understand, and working locally with my community of Steertown, which is, seeing a lot of violence, still a lot of erosion in our institutions, our churches, our schools, our youth clubs, and our environment, and we're engaging locally to really change that. So we're asking the middle class to get involved in the project. of building a secure Jamaica. And a secure Jamaica, I talk about more police on road and more soldier on road. I'm talking about rebuilding the institutions that keep us as a community. Because we know when you grew up, as when I and I grew up, we have access to a track club, a football club, a cricket club, netball, girls, guys, boys, scout. The churches were very active in the community. You know what I mean? And elders were respected. These were because there was a level of cohesion that the leaders in the society, in our community, saw the need to keep these together, to keep community healthy. And this is one of the responsibilities I think the middle class can actually play. And you are the one that hold politicians accountable. I am for voting for a politician who does not reflect the interests of our people. And so one of the things that we do in our education process here is to give people the laws and to let them know where our government stand on these laws. And if our government is not supporting us and our rights, then you have to vote them out. And I have been clearly saying that we have 5 cases in the courts right now. We are up against UDC in the court. UDC is the government of Jamaica, as a statutory body of the government of Jamaica. So they are complicit in excluding us from beach access. We have the Commissioner of Lands in the court right now. The Commissioner of Lands is a part of the Jamaican government, and we're taking them on. We have a Portland Municipal Corporation, which is the parish council, in the Blue Lagoon place, is a part of the Jamaican government, and we have them in the court around access rights to beaches. That makes our government complicit in our exclusion. We have NEPA have granted a beach license to a private developer in Lawland St. Anne, setting up the exclusion of a fishing community that has been there for more than 100 years. So NEPA is complicit, and NEPA is a component of the government, and NEPA sits in the office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister of Jamaica is the head of NEPA and has awarded a private license to a fishing beach. So that makes the government directly complicit in the exclusion of our people. Brethren, may I tell you this? Me now make them thing up, and I don't want Jamaican people to feel like say, me I make it up. Me now make it up. The thing is real.
You have them in, you have them in court, so you could not be making it up. You could not make it up if you have them in court. And you're an intelligent man. Right.
All of the beaches around Jamaica, we don't have no rights to them. We access them by permission. And the permissions are being removed at an accelerated rate to facilitate international investors and local investors to displace you. If you don't stand up and push back at this, in another 10, 20 years, you will have no beaches to go to in Jamaica. And I kid you not. And my brothers and sisters who sit squarely in the middle class, I'm talking to you because you have been uncoupling yourself from the fight for rights and truths and justice in Jamaica. And I'm looking you straight in the eye because I know you. I went to school with many of you guys who have crept out of the lower class, entered the middle class, and are complicit by disengaging from the fight that our ancestors have passed on to us, the baton, so that all of our Jamaican people must be free and rid of the vestiges of colonialism. And you have a responsibility to stand up because you have more resources and you have nothing to lose. So the middle class of Jamaica needs to get engaged in this fight for our rights, because they may be taking our beaches today and they're going to come for your liberty tomorrow, because Jamaica is also becoming a police state. And that's why many of you are living in gated communities behind walls. And one day you will not be able to traverse certain sector of the country because that's where we're going. And so it is today, it's the poor man who can't pay to go on a beach. It's the poor man who uses the sea to fish for feed his family. And the woman, the fisher folk, the fisher woman in my community, who is threatened because
Still
he stands to fight against this
strong.
oppression. Those are the vulnerable people that my middle class brothers and sisters must find the courage to stand up and fight to protect these people.
Yes.
Because we
So
all came
let,
from
let, let, we,
Got you.
yeah, we have people still at interact. DJ Gaddafi said boycotting does not address the cause and will not change nothing. That is one part. I see Jamaicans at these villas, so they must be talking about those who are priced. That is girl 77. Let me see else. The next question she asks, how easy it is to change those laws?
So let me address
Yes.
Gaddafi. I know you
pertaining to the boycott. Yes.
You just need to look at South
Yeah,
Africa.
go ahead.
And apartheid South Africa. Jamaica was one of the nation who led, boycott movements around South Africa. All right, and to rid South Africa of an apartheid system that was directed against the indigenous blacks of South Africa, and it worked because one of the things that capitalists, love, is their money. Okay, because their money gives them power. And once you challenge their money, you're challenging their power.
Yes.
So Gaddafi, I really need you to just look at history, okay, and how history shows you that, these kind of systems are married to money and resources. And once you take that away from them, then you force them to the bargaining table. And so boycott have a very, long historical way of changing people's behavior. So you can just imagine, let's take any particular hotel, and I don't want to call any name right now, and you stop going to that particular hotel. No more patrons going to the hotel. What do you think is going to have to happen? They can just pack up and leave Jamaica. Okay? They lay off their workers. Yeah? But their pockets are going to be hurt. And so their business will not be able to function without that capital.
Yes.
And if it's that we're asking them to create a track or an easement over their land to allow Jamaicans to get to the beach, they may confer. And so I think there's a legitimate place for a boycott movement, because a boycott movement targets the finances of an organization, so it changes its behavior. And that is why we see sanctions being issued across the world. And you see the sanction being issued, and from Ukraine to Middle Eastern countries that behave in ways that are not suited in terms of
that's
humanitarian
boycott.
records. So that's a boycott. So it is a useful tool that has been employed, and you probably employ it right in your house. You may have a child who's given a lot of problem, and you might give the child an allowance of $10 per week, and the child does not do well in school, or misbehave, be rude, not doing the chores, and he says, well, you're not getting your $10 anymore. What you're doing there is a sanction, is a kind of boycott of support. That money that kid would use to buy one extra Sky Juice or a patty, him no longer have access to it. So the child changes their behavior. So we are using tools that have been used historically, and it will work. So, that is something that will change. So South Africa is the classic example, and we can see the tools are sitting on Iran right now, sitting on North Korea, sitting on Russia. And it has its place. And so we think that if the international community really see the plight of the Jamaican public and their fight for the rights of access, and decided that we will only support resorts that allows Jamaicans to traverse the land and get to the beach, then we're going to see some changes in behaviors there. So boycott work. There was another question about I didn't get that one.
About how easy it is to change a law.
So these laws are not easy to change if we do not have the mobilization of our citizens with the right information. So you see, the ruling class of Jamaica and the politician them can change it, and it could be easy. It can be very easy. With the stroke of a pen, as a matter of fact, with the stroke of a pen, the Prime Minister of Jamaica right now can just open up all the beach them, because the beach control give him the power to do that. As much as I don't like this legislation, because it consolidates too much power in one person, being the minister, and he's the minister in charge. Tomorrow morning he can get up with the stroke of a pen and say, every piece of land that adjoins the foreshore must put an easement. And you know the funny thing about it too? Not only that it gives him the power to do so, it also gives him the power to tell the commissioner of police that this particular hotel is not conforming to what I told them to do, and you need to go enforce it. So it also gives some enforceability to the minister to change behaviors. So that is the easy way you can change. Very, very easy. You can change. One man in Jamaica can change that right now. I'm not ramp, I'm not lie. You just need to look into the legislation. I think, if I'm not I'm wrong, I think it's section 55 in the whole act. It stipulates that. So it can be changed, right? And the legislature.
But hear this. I have to go to it. Well on, Dr. Taylor, let me go to it, because this is something that I looked at, and it can work in both ways. See, the minister may, if he thinks fit, so you're right, the minister may, if he thinks fit, grant any person applying therefore in such form and subject to such condition as the minister may think fit, a license to carry on in any area defined in an order made under this section, any prohibited activity specified in such order. So you're right when you say them have the power to do certain things. Yes. But the truth is, the truth is behind all of this, Dr. Devon Taylor. And a lot of our people who maybe not deep into revolutionary studies don't really understand when we say colonial education and how it shaped you to think, because we can see it in the actions of our leaders. They were indoctrinated. You are a deviant, although you have been educated and gone through the system. You deviated from that infrastructure, and you are fashioning and shaping your own education. You are not being educated by the system. You make the decision of how you function within the system. Those who are lackeys will always behave the way how they have been indoctrinated to behave.
Yes, my brother. I mean, this is very clear that if the leaders of the country recognize a legislation that is colonial, and that colonial legislation is impacting the rights, the fundamental rights of the people of the country, and do nothing about it,
yes,
then they are complicit in that colonial
perfect
act. And that's what we're seeing, that they are continuing to
yes,
hold up that coloniality. And that is what our parliament and our Senate and our prime minister is doing, because the judiciary on its own cannot act, right? A matter have to come to the judiciary for the judiciary to act on. And this is why we are using the Prescriptive Act of 1882, another piece of colonial legislation, and we are going to the judiciary to make some decision on behalf of the public, because we cannot make legislative change. We are advocating for them. And this is why the importance of the upper class, the ruling class of Jamaica, we are asking them to change this. We're asking the middle class to become more engaged, and we are working with our quote unquote, and I hate classes terms, but we are working with people of lower socioeconomic, means right now. Those are the foundation of Jabem. That is what we are working with, because those are the ones who are impacted the most, and you have to work, with what's in front of you. And so, being a member from one of these community of Steertown in St. Ann, right? I'm working with my community, and I have broadened this effort out across the entire island of Jamaica to say, let us form an alliance, Jamaica, all right? And we are asking our legislators to change, okay? Now, I should say this, that earlier this year, the Prime Minister of Jamaica says Jamaicans must have access to its beaches. And we went on to engage the Prime Minister through, we're engaging the Prime Minister in the courts. We have actually engaged the Jamaica government, the ruling government now through the United Nations, because we have brought this issue to the United Nations, and the government was forced to respond to the United Nations, and the government basically said there are not changes because they reserve the right to create a balance between what they said is economic development and beach access. In fact, what they're saying that we're not changing the laws. All right. But what we have actually seen is that the People's National Party and the leadership of the party have taken a different position. And listen, we have to call it what it is. They have said that they're adopting a platform that will change the law if they should assume power. Now, of course, we know how politics go in Jamaica, but what is we are observing right now is that they are saying that they are...
Yeah, that is how we are going to hold them accountable for that promise.
Okay. No, exactly. All right. And that is through the ballot. That is how you hold... There's no other way to hold a politician, because the way our government set up, we don't have a recall election. You know what I mean? You just identify a politician that's not functioning properly and you vote him out. We don't have ballot initiative that we want a change in a law, and then we can write it on the ballot and says Jamaicans need beach access rights to be fundamentally entrenched in this constitution, and we vote on that. Our parliamentary system did not set up in that way. We have seen that in some country. We have seen that in the United States. We have seen most of the... All right.
Before you go any further,
well, I want to finish the point regarding the whole political...
Yes, I'm saying... Yeah.
See?
All right. Because when you want to say to you, pertaining to what you said, pertaining... Go ahead. Finish your point, sir.
Yes, what we're saying that is the ruling government has taken a position on the issue. The opposition has taken a different position on the issue, saying that they will change the law and they will make it a policy. Two things: that they're going to open up easement over land so Jamaicans can get to the beaches and fundamentally change that law. They've also said that they're going to move away from the enclave tourism model. So we have a democratization of the tourism product, and it does not exclude Jamaicans. All right. And so, how does one hold politician accountable? As I said, we can go to the court and engage the judiciary, that we are doing. The piece around legislator and your politician, you have to vote for people who have your personal interests at heart, vote for people who have your community interests at heart, vote for people who have the nation interests at heart. And thus, how you look at these kind of things. It's voting an issue. You can no longer just go there and say, boy, me I support this because my family has always been here, or me live in a community and everybody in that community there vote a particular way there. You have to vote on things that impact you. And these issues are impacting vendors, fisher folk, the churches who use it for baptism, the ones them who use it for go collect them Irish march, people use it for swim, the jet ski man, everyone who use it recreationally, spiritually, therapeutically, everybody is being impacted in the country. So why would you really fundamentally not vote to remove people who are older than you? In a colonial context, and locking you out of your beaches and river. I don't fundamentally understand that. But you have to vote an issue that matters to you. And that's all, as the sister asked earlier, that's the hard part of it, is convincing Jamaicans that they need to vote on issues of significance. Okay? We need to. And I was going to mention something about much of the changes around marijuana laws in the United States and across the world have been led by the people of the world. We know that we have been a champion, and that is the Rastafari community, for the legalization and the liberation, use of marijuana as a sacrament within Rastafari. You know, we have people like Peter Tosh who have taken this issue on internationally. And people probably believe that this would have never been an issue today. Today, now, marijuana is recreationally used across the entire planet, and people not for go jail no more for certain kind of records anymore. And you know what? These issues were led by people, regular rank and file, and them never come from upper top. It come from down at bottom. Sadly to say that much of the benefits and the economic benefits of the industry right now is being enjoyed by them same rich people there who never wanted you to have access to it, and send you go jail and send you people them go jail and mash up them life by creating criminal records. And some of us get lost in the system because of over policing, which we see really happening right now in Jamaica around crime and violence in Jamaica, which is a social issue, which is an issue that has to do with our colonial past, as to how we live with one another. It has nothing to do with inherent badness and wickedness within the Jamaican people. It has to do with the vestiges of colonialism, how we live with each other, or them, our right-wing government and our neo-colonialism have really marginalized our people over many years, has created the climate for the proliferation of crime and violence in our society. And the only way that we're dealing with crime and violence now in Jamaica is through what? More policing, more soldiering, and heavy-handed tactics, and it won't work. We really need to deal with the social, a social approach to the problem. The problem need more of a social approach. It needs, crime is basically, an healthcare problem in Jamaica right now. And we need to look at it differently and approach it differently. So you talk about the colonial education. We need different strategic thinkers in our society to take these things on. And, it rubs me wrong.
That's what we're talking about, Richard.
Yeah, man. It's the intellectual
that's what we are. Yes. Dr. Devon Taylor. You told me that you would stay with me till 4:30. I just hope you can go a little longer with me still. See, Dr. Taylor.
We'll go to 5.
All right then, sir. Dr. Taylor, you just talk about recall, and we are at the point where right now they are talking about constitutional reform. To me, I don't like hear the word constitutional reform. I don't like hear those two words. See, I rather to clear up the constitution because we never have one before. So to be reforming something that never created by us, and just hearing, how astute you are, and know that somebody like you should be in some part of some committee to make some kind of suggestion, for the role that you are playing now, taking the government to court on so many issues for violating the rights of Jamaicans, violating the rights of Africans here. And when we look in parliaments today, the people who are violating these rights, and having an organization like NEPA was supposed to protect, the lands for the citizen of Jamaica. Now we understand how deep-rooted colonialism is within the psyche of our people who are in leadership. So it means that we need a total different shift. So those who are feeling offended when you talk about colonial education because they cannot differentiate it, are having a problem, because if you can't differentiate what we are talking about here, something is terribly wrong with your thinking. See? Now, let me go forward to this. What we can do now, since they're talking about constitutional reform, or we can have some part tonight to deal with recall, because I believe successive government exploited this system of every 5 year and every 3 year when it comes to election. What can we do to find a way that if a member of parliament and if the government breaks certain rules, we the people have something that we can recall them and say, you will not continue for your full term. We not give you the full term. We are at the point now where constitutional reform going on. And I believe that somebody like you, with all of us, because you're listening to you now, you know that you're a part. I'm going to want you to come and Fit FM, with a couple of people from Steertown, come sit down at the studio. Maybe we just give you the platform and make you talk, right? See, so when you come forward at Jamaica, more invite the eye to come down, come all advise with you. Here, sir.
Yeah, man. Give thanks. But I'm humbled still by what I really say, regarding our capacity to really operate in those spaces, but watch out. We come out of a little community still, which was very nurturing still, and we have to give thanks, to the teachers them who believed in us. We have to give thanks to our parents who believed in us and also gave us the space to grow and develop. My community was once a space like that. I grew up in the bush. I grew up along the sides of rivers and beaches. You know what I mean? Those are where, that's how I became the man I am right now. I trod in many river banks, and my mother in particular allowed me to do that. You know what I mean? From very early, she would just allow me to trod them rivers there. And I have friends who have drowned in those rivers. And all of those beaches along Mammy Bay, I have friends who have drowned in those beaches. You know what I mean? I have friends who have drowned in pools that sit somewhere. Many of those rich people are, because my community really service all those spaces. So, I'm speaking from a position where I know, I'm not making any of this thing up. And then I read all these books and all these pieces, and I see all the vestiges that sits in our laws. And they've been sitting there, for a very long time. And our leaders have not really made strides to remove them. They will have to atone to all those things. But I will not be party to injustice and not say anything. That's not my politics. And I said this to my friends, and I said it to my family, and I say to your listeners out there. Silence, is not an option when injustice is raising its head. Silence is not option when corruption is rife in the land, because it breed inequality and inequity and fuel violence. You know what I mean? And when you see the violation of human rights, silence is not an option. We are complicit in a lot of that. And this is not just someone witnessing someone hurting someone, or witnessing a woman being beaten. You know what I mean? It's not only in those spaces. It's the silence that sits in our government and in our institutions, really, that is very provocative, because it further, the continuation of exploitation and harm and insecurity in a nation. So our governments, who recognize a need for constitutional change in our country, must realize that constitutional change, and as you said, a rewrite of the Constitution, it's because the Constitution has never favored the rights and the progress of the Jamaican people. And so we've seen the push to remove the king. While, that's a vestiges of colonialism, okay, that's not the only part of our system that needs to be removed. We need a total reform in the society. So if we're dealing with a decolonization approach to remove the king, we need to remove many of the king laws and many of the things that the king have left behind. And therefore, some of the king men and women must also be removed from the system. So the way we really see, they're saying that, okay, they want to do this in a phased approach, that they remove the king, and then they go in and they remove other bits and pieces. We don't really need no phase approach. And the phase approach is an arbitrary kind of an approach to reform of constitution in a country. So we really don't kind of favor that approach. What we favor is for us to take a comprehensive look at the Constitution of Jamaica. And we address the issues in it, okay, and decolonize it. It's not just replacing the Privy Council, with the Caribbean Court of Justice, but it's also dealing with the environmental piece, because we know that we are living it right now.
Yes.
That the environment is very important for the sustainability, survival of humanity. So we think the environment must be a critical part. So the Charter of Rights needs to be, empowered. Things in it needs to be changed. Things in it need to be added in terms of environmentalism and rights and fundamental rights of a people. Educational rights that really kind of restrict ones to, I think, a primary school education. These things need to be changed, and they're constitutionally enshrined. So we really need to take a step back if we're really dealing about this decolonization approach and deal with it properly. So we need good political education in Jamaica. And what we see is that there's not an interest to do that. And I know it is in line to the colonial thinking that you don't educate the people and you could keep the people, in poverty. You could control them forever. You could marginalize them forever. And so I do not think our government have been really serious about decolonization of the of our country and of our laws, and that is deeply problematic. But it's not for us to be silent; it's for us to engage. And as I said earlier, the middle class have a lot of knowledge that sits inside there, and I'm asking them not to get so quiet and complacent and be complicit in the problems in the country. They need to offer solution. I understand how important your wealth is to you. I understand your security. I understand some of you are tired. You've been fighting battles of poverty for many years. And so you have arrived at a position that you can enjoy. And you want to go to the North Coast and you want to enjoy yourself. You want to be able to buy certain things and live in certain neighborhoods, run walls around your things and gate yourself and feel secure. I understand that. But you know what? That's a short-term gain, and it's only a small subset of you are going to enjoy that. But if you make the sacrifice and get engaged in this transformation, this change, then we all are going to be better.
Yeah,
it is
what we see as a cycle. It is what we see, Dr. Taylor, as a psychological imprisonment. A lot of the is middle class. Whenever you engage them within any serious conversation, you realize that they are living in the illusion of comfort. It's not like they are really comfortable, because all the infrastructure design, they are slaves not knowing that they are slaves. And that is the sad part of how they function. The black intelligence class, or the bourgeois class, who believe that they have arrived. See? So to engage them, we have to bridge that gap with those people, because I heard you mention the middle class, and every time I hear the word class, it sends chills through my system, because classism is what is destroying our country more than anything. Once you see this class structure, we need to find a way to break down that, because somewhere, somehow, it is not helping us, because who you call the middle class, or who we see as the middle class, I believe if them did really reach out to the people, even 2 hours out of them week, to say, I could go into Steer Town, I could go sit down among some youth. You just talk about community center and all of these things that were a part of our upbringing, Go among these youth, We remember in the 1970s, that was one thing where we talk about Jamal. And most of the people who got educated with it that time, that is where the middle class that was there contributing to bringing up those who were at the bottom. And I'm saying we need to shift forward to that kind of principle to see how we can, bring everybody on a level playing field. If we are going to talk about an equitable system, this is how we have to think.
Absolutely. We have to think along those lines, And the whole constitutional argument that we're kind of having in the context of access and rights, what we're advocating for beaches, opens up the discussion that you can even build in your constitution, recognizing that parts of the vestiges of colonialism is classism in Jamaica. We still do have colorism in Jamaica, where preference goes to the lighter color you are. We've seen that, we have lived that, we have seen that most of the upper management across all the hotel industry in Jamaica, is white. That is not something that is unfamiliar to Jamaicans. So there's something to be said about that. So we can even build these provisions in our constitutional framework, recognizing that classism is an issue in Jamaica. We put mechanism in place that does not become a barrier for one's rights. It does become a barrier for one, to be, economically, successful, to be, socially grounded and protected in a society. So the Constitution can be a very powerful document in terms of the decolonization of the Jamaican, space. So it's very important that we take a really deeper perspective on it, do the political education that is required across the nation, so Jamaicans fundamentally can associate why is it important to change or rewrite the Constitution, right? We're rewriting it because we want to remove from our system, a practice that has held our people in a subhuman bondage, in a discriminatory bondage, in a political, social, economic, environmental bondage for more than 400 years. And we're entering into a new dawn where we want all Jamaicans to be able to reach their full potential, regardless of who they are. Okay? And that is something that we need to make sure that we understand, that our constitutional change is based upon. Not no cosmetic dressing of just removing a king, but deep fundamental change of the entrenchment that traps us in this colonial context in our country. We need to really make sure that happen. Okay? And I always have the pivot to say that this is one of the fundamental reasons why the Beach Control Act of 1956, that is a discriminatory legislation that prevents Jamaicans from fundamentally accessing their beach and their rivers, is in place, because that was not decolonized from our system, and we need to remove it. And it carries a baggage of things with it. It allows our hotel industry to be proliferating based on racist kind of tendencies. Okay, that's what it has done, and the data is very clear on that. It is so crystal clear. It is unchallengeable. And for our government not to move away from it, it makes them complicit in, a neo-colonialist agenda against its own people. And that's why one of the spaces that we have to fight is in the courts. And we're asking the population to join us, okay, so we can push for the legislative change, because many of this that is happening is what we deem as anti-Black racism. And Jamaicans might say, well, Black people can't be racist, and they can't be racist against. No, it's not true. This research has been, the United Nations through UNESCO, and I participated in one of those, conferences this summer. The conference, was talking about, how to really measure the impact of anti-Black racism. Okay. And, Professor Tony Oakes, who, from Brown University, was instrumental in this. It was hosted at, Liberty Hall. So in the line of, thinking of Marcus Garvey, Dr. Maziki Fame was, was one of the coordinators of the meeting, who have a profound interest in the oppression, in the system of oppression that keeps us in these spaces. And there was open discussion. Dr. Marcus Goff participated in there. We have Rosalie Hamilton, you know, we have Stacey and Chin performing inside, and you know, we have some artists that come through the space. So it was well attended by, you know, I mean, members from the University of the West Indies too. And we explore the issues around anti-black racism in Jamaica. And I can cite an example that, you know, as innocent as it is, where you will have sometimes people says, well, if we give Jamaican just general access to use beaches, they're going to destroy the tourism product, and they're going to destroy the beaches, and they're going to make the space dirty and filthy, you know, and the behavior of Jamaicans from low socio-economic standards will destroy the product. Those are racist kind of views of your people, because you are
it's psychological. It's what we call psychological violence, Dr. Taylor. That's a kind of psychological violence that you are using on your people. Just to segue into something that I had a conversation with a taxi driver. I hope you're listening, taxi driver, saying recently I was listening to the news where they said that they need the government, the private sector is calling on the government to open up, you know, for the importation of workers in Jamaica. And I'm saying to this taxi driver, I say, look how many unemployed youth in Jamaica. I saw unemployment gone down that we have to look outside for workers. Now, I was reading something this morning from the justice ministers saying to the hoteliers that they need to raise the salary of the workers that them have rather than looking outside to import workers. So what we realize happening, they are looking or seeking cheap laborers because they are not trying to uplift the people of Jamaica, that they can have a kind of salary that can give them a kind of sustenance that they can live comfortable. And the Jamaica people are some set of people. When I really go get up, go work every day and come back and dead for hungry, then can't buy a shoes and can't buy, you know, can't send their children to school. And this is what we are facing today in Jamaica, the same exploitation. Private sectors, and we must pay attention to that organization, that movement, the serious violation that they are doing to the workers of Jamaica. And when we say workers, we are talking even the educated class, because there are a lot of our teachers and nurses who are working in private institutions who have to even leave those private institutions and seeking employment elsewhere out, you know. So these are some issues. They are raising some serious issues. And this is what we are talking about, decolonization, how we challenge these things. And, we you know, I am so happy that an intellectual like you know what I mean, who are so grounded and bridging the gap to, you know, making sure that you are engaging communities, you know what I mean, and to make youth, because this is what we don't want the youth them to just see one way out, to be chopped and scammers, because that is just expanding the prison industrial complex in America. The more you chop and the more you scam, them are going to scrape you up, and you're going to have to spend 20 years of free labor in America prison. So learn that. We are talking to you now. Go ahead, Dr. Taylor. Go ahead. We're kind of going deep.
Yeah, man. I mean, there is direct linkage between colonialism and capitalism. And so, you know, the capitalism is always about squeezing as much as it can out of people. All right. It's not a kind of a, you know, system that is people centered. It's profit centered.
Yes.
So you kind of reduce people to assets and things. You know, that is the way it is. And, you know, listen, you know, when we have this reasoning, you know, people will formulate all kind of views, you know, I mean, around one political position. But we have to be very fair about what and how capitalism works in our society. And, you know, you try to, when you run a business, you try to maximize your profit. That is the way capitalism works. And if you think someone is going to cost you too much and you could get someone else to do that same work for half the price, they're going to go and do it. All right. And I think this is an attempt to really undermine the Jamaican worker, right?
Yeah.
By going elsewhere to get cheaper labor and pay them less, to do more work,
Yes.
and it is wrong. And we have not been engaged in this, direction that we are seeing out there, and government is engaging in it and the private sector is engaging in it. But, it's not something that the Jamaican people should really take lightly, because once they start import worker in the country to do these jobs, they're not going to stop. Okay, and your wage is going to be suppressed more. The world is changing. People are moving all across this planet, and there's a lot of exploitation that is happening. And fundamentally, this should not be something that takes, place in Jamaica when we have, a pseudo, basically unemployment rate that is suppressed. We have an undertrained workforce, yes, but we have also people in Jamaica who are highly capable of doing all these jobs. But people also do not want to do some of these jobs because they're also demeaning, and the return and how they're treated in these spaces is just not humane. If you look at how the hotel sector have transitioned itself from, offering people pension and protection in their retirement years to contract-based work, where you have no guarantee of a job in 6 months or 3 months. You are actually laid off at will, and there's no repercussion to it. Union protection, for hotel workers, I don't even know if it exists. So the industry is trying to move into a way to really stop the protection of workers. And we cannot afford that in our society. We're not there where the country is secure and solid. We're not there yet. So why would you want to, introduce another variable in the country right now in terms of foreign workers? It's just a lot of exploitation that is going to also happen of those workers. It's also, you're going to put a lot of other strains on our system in Jamaica as well. So it's not a position that, should really take effect. It's just capitalism gone amok. And, these individuals are also very much empowered, and they have the resources to actually influence the government, because we know politicians always need money to keep them in power. That is how they run their election, is who spend the most money can get the most votes. So they're buying your vote out there. And so they will push government to do their biddings. And something like this is just not going to grow Jamaica. It's not going to provide the security our nation needs. Salaries must increase. The working condition of the worker in Jamaica must increase, must improve. And the rights that protect Jamaican workers, that is what we need to be working on. If tourism is representing, 50-60% of the Jamaican economy, all right, then that industry have a responsibility to invest in the Jamaican worker, not in a tourism kind of way, but in other ways that a society grow, in science and technology, grow in healthcare, grow in other alternative industry. That means when the tourism thing, ends, we would have built a country that can rely on other parts. We see what COVID did, in that era. Why would you want to continue to expand a product that is basically dependent upon people moving? When we have problems of movement in the world, we have problems in the industry. When you have recession happening, most of the markets that feeds into Jamaica, we have problems. We need to kind of diversify our thinking and move away from that. And I'm just asking the leaders out there, just don't compromise the Jamaican workers and introduce this foreign worker thing in our country. We really don't need that variability right now to throw more problems in on top of problems what we have. We have a beach access problem in Jamaica, which is a fundamental right. Now, Jamaicans who would work in these spaces see the beach and can't even use it. Now you imagine you replace Jamaicans, on these new plantation, what we call hotels. We would even be able to go close to the coast anymore. Come on now. That's where we started. We started about rights to these spaces, and we're losing that rights. And then even the little bit of earnings that we could make in these spaces now are looking to be compromised by introducing foreign contract temporary workers in the spaces, further undermining any kind of economic reform that should happen in the space where we move away from the enclave tourism model, we move away from the apartheid tourism model, open up the industry in a more environmental, cultural, friendly space, diversify it so the entire communities around. We should see, more of tax dollars from the industry filtering into the infrastructural development of the country. We need to really remove all of these subsidies that tourists get. I mean, most ones in the diaspora who travel to Jamaica don't even know that a component of their plane ticket, there's a TEF tax on it. And there's a lot of money that the Tourism Enhancement Fund get directly from a plane ticket that is purchased when one enters Jamaica. Where does that money go? I wonder if Jamaica know where TEF money goes. When you buy a ticket to come visit your loved one in Jamaica, come check by your house, or you look a farm, or come check your bridging, or your funeral, or a wedding, or whatever you come a yard, come do, or you return a yard, or you take a ticket, you buy a ticket. Taxes from your ticket goes to TEF. That money needs to go into developing the country, not just developing tourism. They call it a Tourism Enhancement Fund. So tax dollars that comes into the country goes directly to tourism to shore up a product that most of Jamaicans are not benefiting from, and only 5 cents of every dollar staying in the country. These are the fundamental things that our middle class ones must study and ask those questions and challenge them. Because there are parts of our society who just does not have that level of education, not exposed enough, and then the light-teething parts of our leadership communicating that to our public. But the middle class have the luxury of education, exposure, and some resources to be able to study these issues. That monies coming to the country needs to be channeled into infrastructural development in terms of education, healthcare, roads, building out farming sector and opening up new spaces. This is what you use these things to do. And there's a large subset of our population who have the skill sets to take on these issues. And I'm asking them to get involved in the project of reimagining a new Jamaica, not excluding anyone, but including
Dr.
everyone.
Taylor. Yeah, Dr. Taylor, I'm going to give you the last word, and we continue to emphasize on education. And I was reading something recently. A sister introduced me to the 10-point plan of the CARICOM reparation plan, right? And I believe it was in the 10-point plan, I believe it was point 9 that they mentioned something where the colonial system at that time said not one thing should be produced or manufactured in the colony, meaning like Jamaica. And every time we talk about education, we say education as a system of more like a servitude, rather than a system where we start to manufacture, to develop things for ourselves, to become empowered, that we now have to depend on the outside world to flush, goods down here. We create things, we have the raw material, but the raw material go elsewhere, and then them create what them want create, and then we just become mere consumer. You see, when we talk about the education and decolonization of education, we have to start fine-tune it in such a way that people can get clarity of what we are really talking about. You know what I mean? That you just don't educate yourself to go work for a salary, but how your education empower your community, how the man understand, say, guess what? The death industry Me I call it death industry right now. Which all this power, we have so much thing to talk about. Another day have to come, because we see one at a time gone when we used to bury we dead. Now we don't even have that right there again. It come like all that right there. You have a family plot, see, and you're like bury your dead in 3 days time or 2 days time. Now that right's gone from you because everybody a rush for come pick up your dead and for keep it and for sell your package. And you talk about the environment. The death industry is destroying the environment right now with all sorts of steel and concrete. I went to a funeral recently, and when I saw steel and concrete and see how much land being destroyed by what I call the death industry, it's a serious thing happening to us here when it comes to environmental. Dr. Taylor, I'm giving you the last word, sir. Say what you want to say till we chip out at 5 o'clock. We maybe have about too much. 2 minutes. So take the 2 minutes and just inform the people where them can find you and all where you have.
Yeah, man.
Let me bless up the people in my primal. Bless up let me bless them up before you talk. Bless up Nehema, bless up Gaddafi, bless up Professor X. We give thanks for the arty engagement and we give thanks for that. Love.
Yeah, man. No,
over to you, Dr. Taylor.
Yeah, give thanks for the opportunity to come in and what our reasoning with the ones them. Give thanks for all of the feedback. All really enjoy them kind of back and forth is all we kind of growing knowledge. So as we say now,
yes,
JABEM, Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement. You can check us out at jabem.org. All of our social media angles out there at JABEM, be it Instagram, our Facebook, or, now formerly Twitter, now X. You can find us in those spaces. We communicate through those spaces as to what's happening. We need you to join up. You come on the site, just put up your information and let us know how you can participate in what we are doing, and we'll reach out to you. There's a form that you can fill out. We have a petition that is running at change.org regarding, save Jamaican beaches, protect Jamaican beaches, and, to prevent the closing of Bob Marley Beach. You can sign that petition, at change.org. In order for us to continue our advocacy through the courts, we have to pay our attorneys. As much as we'd like it, the advocacy is not free. We print our T-shirts for all, our ones them on the ground who are doing the work. So we have to raise some funds. So we have a GoFundMe account out there. So you go to GoFundMe, you will see that we're asking you to support the Beach Access Defense Fund at GoFundMe. We also have, you can really make a donation. I can't tell you the account off of my head, but I'll put it up on. It's actually on the website. Our account number at a local bank in Jamaica, where you can give away a few 2 cents if you want. We're more interested in you joining the advocacy for a fundamental change in the legislation. And what we want to see change in the legislation is for Jamaicans to have general and unfettered rights of access to our beaches. We want rights of nature protection for the beach ecosystem. And we need a change in the coastal regulation laws that does not allow hotels to build, below 100 feet above the high water mark. We need to conserve this space. We need to protect it for future generation. We want easement to open up over lands that lead to the beaches because we can't fly. So we must be able to walk, and get close to the shore by, driving, also. So we need easement to be opened up. So we're asking you to understand that beach access must be on the ballot. So when you think about electing an individual, which is coming up soon in Jamaica, think about people who are going to represent your self-interest in the fundamental rights of access to beaches, to rivers, and the democratization of the Jamaica tourism product, moving away from a product that locks you out, but one that allows you to also benefit economically. And this is your fundamental right as we try to decolonize the coast of Jamaica, so all Jamaicans can have rights of access access for the recreational, spiritual, economic purposes, therapeutic purposes, but also an economic one. We need those fundamental rights, and we need all this, different parts of society to be engaged in this struggle. So join Jabem, and reach out to us, and we can have further discussion. Yeah, man. Give thanks.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for being here, and we are going to keep in touch. And make we know when you're there, Jamaica. Here, sir. Shout you up, and make we can get a link. Next time you carry two people and consider a nice studio with me. Here, sir. I love and life. Yes, that was Dr. Devon Taylor, president for the Jamaica. Let me get it clear. Jamaica Beach Birthright Environmental Movement, JABEM. Saying we give thanks, really in depth and informative reasoning, So people, we give thanks. We give thanks to primal4k.com, Joel Nehima, Professor X. We give thanks to Patrick Beckford, and we give thanks to you, the listeners who are listening out there. Be a part of this movement, and make we really take Jamaica, because we ancestors lay the foundation. We must take up the baton and run with it to the end, and we must make it easier for our children, that them can make it easier for their children until our fundamental liberation and reparation come, because that is what we are about. We give thanks, Julia, our producer, saying, so it is the community buzz. We look forward to next strong, you understand, when we'll have another very interesting guest, because that's how we do. We're growing from strength to strength, More power. Community Buzz, Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. I'm Mara, poetic musical revolutionary. We're out. Love and light.
This is Fit FM.
Fit FM 96.7.
96.7.
Duncan Streloni.
Duncan Streloni.
Blessings and light.